outside. He was headbutted 18 times in that fight. I think he learned his lesson.
Right. 6 pounds at the weigh-in. He's got to weigh 300 now, but he's there at the end. He's actually a good 10-round fighter.
Well, he's never really been pressed in a significant fashion. The thing is, James Gaines can really box. He'll fool you with that big body of his, but he's a guy that can box you from the outside and can give you some trouble.
Okay, an interesting matchup. And in our opening bout, the man who pulled the big upset so far for 1996, Darroll Wilson with the big win over Shannon Briggs. I've got to tell you, John, I'm his manager. I may not let him cross the street and waiting for the big rematch with Shannon or a big payday, but he's in here tonight.
Well, he's in a different role tonight, Arnie. Normally he's a spoiler. Tonight he's a big favorite. The last 3 times Darroll Wilson has fought, he's knocked off undefeated fighters. Tonight he doesn't have much in front of him.
Okay, well, Ricky Sullivan, though, one of the better under 500 fighters in the business, and we'll be back with our first bout. Don't leave. Heavyweight explosion after these words.
Kick back with Eat More and enter to win a 97 Jeep TJ. Mail in an entry form plus 2 Eat More wrappers and find out if you're a winner on TSN September 21st and 22nd. Look for displays and entry forms at participating stores including Becker, Safeway, Co-op Atlantic, and Max.
You probably missed breakfast, too. Kellogg's Nutri-Grain cereal bars, part of a complete breakfast. Good food on the go. Hitting the snooze button too many times. Kellogg's Nutri-Grain cereal bars, part of a complete breakfast. Good food on the go.
Hi, I'm Sparky Anderson. Tune in to TSN's Blue Jays telecast and watch for my on-the-ball features. Brought to you by Gillette's $250,000 Triple Play Challenge. Coming soon to a retailer near you.
All right, we're getting ready for our first bout here. Darroll Wilson, number 12 now in the IBF because of the big upset over Shannon Briggs and Ricky Sullivan out of Schuylerville. And there's Darroll Wilson, 16-0, 2 draws, 11 knockouts. And, of course, the most important one, the one over Darroll Wilson. We're going to go up to our ring announcer now, J.J. Wright, with the introductions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Roxy in historic Boston, Massachusetts. I'm J.J. Wright, and welcome aboard as Cedric Kushner Sports Network presents the Corona Extra Heavyweight Explosions. Now, tonight's bouts are being telecast worldwide tonight on the TVKO, which is America's pay-per-view network. So are you ready for some excitement and some action tonight, ladies and gentlemen? All right, let's get right to it. Let's meet our players in our first bout tonight. This is a 10-rounder between the heavyweights in this heavyweight explosion. So let's go right over to the blue corner. Ranked number 12 in the IBF with an incredible 16 wins, including 11 knockouts, weighing in at 228 pounds. From Danville, Virginia, give it up for Darroll Wilson. In the red corner, with 6 incredible wins, including 4 KOs at 212 pounds, from Schuylerville, New York, give it up for Rick Roundhouse Sullivan. So, gentlemen, if you're ready, it is showtime. Let's do it.
Knockdown rule in effect. Referee and the doctor can stop the fight, and you can be saved by the bell in any round. Our referee tonight, Mike Ryan. And we're underway. Scheduled for 10. John, what can we expect from Wilson early in the fight? Slow start? Fast start? He looked fast, obviously, against Shannon Briggs.
Well, of course, we saw Shannon Briggs swarm him as he does every other fighter. And Wilson managed to escape that first round and came back and basically knocked the fight right out of Shannon Briggs by the second round and stopped him. In this kind of a fight, I think you're going to see Wilson taking his time a little bit.
Well, when Wilson has scored knockouts, they've all come under 3 rounds. He's got 11 knockouts in his 16 wins, all of them coming in 3 rounds or less.
By the same token, with a brawler like Rick Sullivan, you don't want to give him a lot of time in there in the ring, because if he does something fluky and you get cut, that's not going to be good news for your next fight. And there was a slip there by Wilson.
Sullivan, 4 knockouts in his 6 wins. He's got 11 losses. Sometimes he's durable. We had him in with Fernelli Feliz in our June heavyweight explosion show. Excuse me, that was a show on the Deuce. He went 8 rounds with Feliz. Surprised everybody going the distance there. He has, though, in boxing parlance, a bad beard, or a no beard. He's been stopped 6 times. Wilson, the heavy hitter, would want to take him out. Would not look good on Wilson's record at this point to have Ricky Sullivan go the distance with him. Sullivan's in the blue shorts with the white stripe. Darroll Wilson in the solid black.
But Darroll Wilson, Arnie, didn't even get involved in a serious way in the amateurs until 1992. So Darroll Wilson is still learning the nuances of the professional game.
Well, he turned pro at 27. He's 30 years of age right now. Very late in terms of boxing. So we got about a minute to go now. Round number 1, Ricky Sullivan throws a couple of roundhouse punches.
And that's what Ricky's known for doing on the circuit. He's not your basic sharpshooter in there.
His last fight, as we mentioned, was June 9th. Went 8 round, losing a decision to Fernelli Feliz up at Fernwood Resort in Pennsylvania. And of course, Wilson has not fought since the knockout victory over Shannon Briggs. Now, let me ask you a question. Wilson came in 13 pounds heavier than he did against Briggs. Weighed 228 pounds today.
Yeah, well, certainly he's not figuring Rick Sullivan to be much in front of him, and probably did not train as hard. That's a typical thing that a fighter can fall into, a trap. And to begin with, Darroll Wilson is not a big heavyweight. He really isn't.
And Ricky Sullivan, let's see, is he claiming a low blow here? Referee Ryan calling a timeout. Calls time back in. About 10 seconds to go in round 1, and we'll get a reading on that. But Wilson is the heaviest that he's been in his career as we come to the end of round number 1 on Heavyweight Explosion, a rather feeling out round for both fighters. Oh!
What is Kellogg's Mueslix? Mueslix cereal has home-baked tastes like delicious apple crisp. Mueslix is an abundance of textures, ingredients like
down deep.
That was on.
Oh, there was
it
a
is,
second one.
That was definitely south of the border, Tijuana style.
Catching up on the tail of the tape tonight, you see Darroll Wilson with a 1-inch height advantage. Ricky Sullivan, the correction on the weights. It's Ricky Sullivan at 228, Wilson at 218. Okay, that puts things into perspective. Slight reach advantage for Darroll Wilson. And we have a correction coming on the ages as well. We have Darroll Wilson is 30 years of age.
He is 30, actually.
Yeah. Oh, and a big right hand lands right. Ricky Sullivan looks down at us, says, nah, that didn't hurt me. But, John, we know better.
That's the first sign when a fighter shakes it off, you know he got stung. And that's just what Ricky Sullivan did. And now you really see Darroll Wilson turning the heat up here in the second round. And this is turning into a war, Arnie. There's a lot of holding. There's a lot of illegal stuff going on right now. And right now, referee Ryan has to take control of this fight. And Darroll Wilson is telling Rick Sullivan, come on, let's get it on.
Wilson certainly the heavier hitter of the two. Again, 11 knockouts in his 16 wins. They've all come in 3 rounds or less. Ricky Sullivan, 4 KOs in his 6 wins. He's also been stopped 6 times.
I don't know about you, Arnie, but I've had my quota for low blows for this month in boxing, if you know what I mean. We'll leave it at that.
Yes, we will. It's Ricky Sullivan. He's in the blue shorts with the white stripe. Darroll Wilson in the solid black. Minute gone by in round number 2. We're scheduled for 10. No knockdowns thus far in the fight.
Wilson's attempting to establish that jab from the outside. And Sullivan, you see him backing straight up. Not an advisable thing to do. So Rick Sullivan should be punching first. But which is a very basic, fundamental thing to do when you're fighting. Don't let the other man get started.
Ricky Sullivan, though, also has a habit of being a survivor. I think he would consider it a victory if he went the full 10 tonight.
Undoubtedly.
And that would almost be like a loss for Darroll Wilson at this point. His stock would go down considerably, and a lot of people are watching this fight tonight trying to measure whether it was a fluke against Shannon Briggs. Not that a big win over Ricky Sullivan would tell him that much, but if he goes the distance with Ricky Sullivan, it's a reversal of fortune. Under a minute to go in round number 2.
Well, the reason they took this fight was because they really wanted David Tua at Darroll Wilson's camp, but when it became apparent the Tua match wasn't going to be made, they wanted to stay active. You can really see the way Wilson punches. He does not have a lot of steam behind his blows, Arnie. Just not a big puncher. But try telling that to Shannon Briggs, he may tell you something different.
Or the other 10 guys that he knocked out. As we're on the 22nd mark here in round number 2. A lot of punches being thrown, though, for heavyweight, Sean. Ricky Sullivan doing some nice body work there. Walk back to the corner with Ricky Sullivan. A lot of people didn't think he'd be here this long, John. And I kept saying, Ricky Sullivan can be very durable when he wants to be.
He's definitely a survivor in there, but you can clearly see he's outclassed by Darroll Wilson, a guy who's still learning the game. Let's listen in on Darroll Wilson's corner. We're not able to pick up much there. But
Head's getting sloppy here. Take a look at action from round number 2. And take a look at it, John. You know, that's one of the things with Sullivan. He bleeds a lot and causes other guys to bleed because those heads start to bang in close.
He's a lunger.
Round number 3, we're scheduled for 10. Darroll Wilson in the black shorts. Ricky Sullivan, he's in the blue with the white stripe. No knockdowns thus far in the fight. And already, I got to tell you, though, you know, if you put things in perspective, Ricky Sullivan's doing better than Shannon Briggs.
Not a lot better. Darroll Wilson's really getting that jab pumping here in the 3rd round, Arnie, and he's getting Sullivan totally defensive and backing up. You know, if Sullivan's not going to jab, at least throw a lead right hand. I mean, he's just a sitting duck for those jabs and right hands from Wilson.
Nice right hand lead there from Wilson. Interesting statistic, though. Wilson has never stopped anybody past round number 3. Goes past round number 3, the fight goes the distance. Interesting distance fight, too, is cruiserweight Terry McGroom went the full 10 rounds to get a draw against Darroll Wilson. That's the same Terry McGroom that fought a 10-round draw with Anthony Hembrick recently in Detroit. Oh, and a left hand leads Sullivan backing up Darroll Wilson and leaves himself open. This is one thing you don't understand about Ricky Sullivan. It's like he wants to macho it out, John.
It's conditioning on Ricky's part, too. Actually, that first left hand was more of a slap, but then he hit him with a sharp right hand right on the point of the chin.
Certainly got Darroll Wilson's attention, and we're only halfway gone here in round number 3.
That's what I like to see. Set up that right hand with the jab. Unfortunately, he didn't find the target.
He's a little more tentative now about rushing in. Sullivan caught him coming in that time.
This is essentially target practice for Darroll Wilson right here. I mean, Ricky Sullivan has a big bullseye painted on that forehead. I'd like to see Wilson learn to hook off that jab too, Arnie. That's something a young fighter, in his case he's 30, but in terms of experience he's young, needs to learn to do.
He's had only 18 pro fights again, came into this fight 16-0, 2 draws, 11 KOs. You have to only wonder what would have happened, John, if he hadn't turned pro when he was 27 years of age. And very light amateur career.
Wanted to be a pro football player, Darroll Wilson. Went to George Washington High School in Danville, Virginia. And played high school football with Farrell Edmonds in the NFL now, and Herman Moore, who now plays for the Detroit Lions, of course.
And we're coming to the end of round number 3. We're scheduled for 10. Ricky Sullivan hanging in there. Round number 3 action, and there's that good overhand right, John. I got to tell you, that did get the attention of Darroll Wilson as we start round number 4. We're scheduled for 10. Still no knockdowns thus far in the fight. Except for that. And there's another low blow from Darroll Wilson. Ricky Sullivan asking referee Ryan, how about a point taken away?
It's interesting, in Massachusetts, the corners are not allowed to yell instructions to their fighters during the fight. And Wilson has a very vocal corner. And Rick Sullivan just is bending down and telling us something. I'm not sure what he said exactly, but he's not happy, and it may stem from those low blows. And now he's starting to try to whack away at Wilson.
The Massachusetts, as you mentioned, John, has the no rooting from the corner rule. They also have that rule in New York, not quite as strict as it is here, and they have a no facial hair rule in Massachusetts. And you remember at the weigh-in, Darroll Wilson had a beard, and they made him shave it.
And he was not a happy camper.
No, he wasn't. It was a nice beard.
I'm just glad they didn't turn to me and say announcers aren't allowed to wear beards either.
Oh,
there's a
and
left
Wilson
hand.
got caught again.
Well, Darrell's getting a little bit sloppy here because it's that kind of a fight. We've had heads butting, we've had low blows.
And again, I have to harp on the statistic is that he's not ever knocked out anybody past round number 3. After that, it's gone the distance. Nice body shot. First time we've seen him go downstairs in the fight.
He needs to do more of that, Arnie.
Well, not that it's hard to bring Ricky Sullivan's hands down. He keeps him down the entire fight, whether you're going to his body or not.
Good stiff jab by Wilson. And he shows some ability to slip a punch there from Ricky Sullivan.
Just about a minute to go now in round number 4. Coming to you from the Roxy in Boston. Heavyweight explosion. I'm Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal along with John Saraceno. Of course, coming up, our main event with Obed Sullivan and James Gaines.
Darroll Wilson showed in the Shannon Briggs war that he does have a big heart and he will fight you. He's really an overachiever in the heavyweight division.
Well, in some regards, yes, because of what he's accomplished so far. In other regards, for a guy who's had only 18 fights, he's about probably maybe a little bit more than where he should be. Sullivan fighting in close, trying to get some body work in on Wilson. We're come to the end of round number 4. Ricky Sullivan double left. And again, landing some blows on Wilson that Wilson shouldn't be getting hit with, and he spins him around at the end of round number 4.
Hey, I'm Dean, and from my Labatt Genuine Draft commercial, we're going straight to the draft source.
First, Hans puts the ingredients in here, then mixes. And baits. And baits. Any questions?
And then Hans fills each bottle with the same draft that he puts in the kegs and seals the draft freshness in with one of these.
Any questions?
Run the clip.
For the fresh taste of keg draft sealed in a bottle, Labatt Genuine Draft.
That's the end of the tour.
Any questions?
Getting a trimmer, flat, or tummy just got easier. Hi, I'm Joanne McLeod.
I'm Hal Johnson. The Body Break Ab Master from Quality Fitness is the first product we're confident enough to put our name on.
With AbMaster, men and women of all ages and fitness levels can get a firmer, flatter stomach in just 7 minutes a day. There's also a free workout video and instruction guide to help you along. Feel great and get toned with the Body Break AbMaster in stores now.
Homegrown hopefuls are making tracks all season long on TSN Motorsport. Jacques Villeneuve aims for glory at the Formula One level. Paul Tracy and Greg Moore make their move in the IndyCar World Series. David Effingham leads the charge of the Indy Lights. And the good old boys renew acquaintances on the NASCAR Tour. Canada's highest octane racing package on TSN Motorsport.
Round number 5. This is a scheduled 10-rounder. A lot of people didn't think Ricky Sullivan would still be here.
Wilson eating up Sullivan with that jab. That has been his most effective punch in the fight, and that is what is winning this fight for him on our unofficial scorecards.
How do you see it thus far, John?
I've given Wilson 3 rounds. Excuse me, Wilson 3 rounds, and I called the first one even.
Of course, that's Wilson in the black shorts, Ricky Sullivan in the blue with the white stripe.
Ricky is nothing if not gutty. Tough kid.
Wilson, the big puncher, 11 KOs, and of course, if you've been out of town, you don't know. Good 4 punches landed by Ricky Sullivan.
The only problem with Sullivan is that you could, with his right hand, you can time it with a sundial. It is so ponderous and slow that most fighters can see it coming. Now, Wilson's got hit a couple times because he throws it at awkward times and from awkward positions. But of course, with a real seasoned fighter, you wouldn't be able to land any of those shots.
Let me ask you this, though, and I was about to say, unless you've been out of town, you know the big upset that Darroll Wilson pulled was over Shannon Briggs. John, what other top 10 heavyweights could you see Darroll Wilson going in with right now and surviving and or having a win and moving on to the next step?
Depends on whose top 10 you're looking at.
Well, he's ranked number 12 in the IBF right now.
Yeah, but literally, there are guys in some top 10s don't belong there. And
are you saying that Wilson doesn't belong there?
I don't think he's a top 10 fighter now. That's premature at this point. I think maybe you're giving Shannon Briggs too much credit for what he was. I mean, there was tremendous hype about Shannon Briggs. You know, I will give him the fact that he won that fight and rallied to do so. But in my opinion, he's a small heavyweight who doesn't punch really hard, and he's only got 18 pro fights. So I don't think he's a contender at this
And often in upsets, I guess we're playing the waiting game a little bit here. We're waiting to see when Darroll Wilson is really tested again with somebody. And we're waiting to see what happens with Shannon Briggs and his comeback to find out if it was just a fluke bad night for him, or does he have the talent that everybody prophesied for him. As we're coming up on the 32nd mark in round number 5, still no knockdowns thus far in the fight. And Ricky Sullivan hanging in there. This is scheduled for 10.
But he's really gassed, Arnie. His mouth is hanging wide open, and he's sucking wind right now. This is pure guts. There ain't a whole lot of glory to it either.
Fakes a right hand, lands a left. And the only thing, my biggest criticism of Wilson thus far is he shouldn't be getting hit by shots like that, as you said. Ricky telegraphs those shots. He's backed up into the corner, taking some punishment now. As we come to the end of round number 5. Let's go back to the corner now with Darroll Wilson, see what his people are telling him. I think they have to be thinking that Ricky Sullivan shouldn't be here at the end of 5 rounds.
Same thing, ain't no difference. You gotta keep bang, 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 have fun, relax. You know you're in shape. You know, put them on the second one in a minute, and get it going. Come on.
We take a look at action here from round number 5. Darroll Wilson having a very good sharp jab. As you mentioned, John, earlier, target practice. He loves to throw that right after the left. As you also mentioned, though, doesn't seem to have mastered the hook off the jab yet. And as we were listening in his corner, they're telling him, go to the body.
It's a learning process, and he's got a ways to go.
Coming up, the IBF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, champion Obed Sullivan and James Gaines. But right now, we've got Ricky Sullivan getting into the desperate hours, but he's here in round number 6, a place where a lot of people didn't think he'd be against Darroll Wilson. That's Sullivan, he's in the blue with the white stripe. Ricky Sullivan in the, Darroll Wilson in the solid black, Ricky Sullivan in the blue with the white stripe. Unofficially, I've got it as a shutout for Darroll Wilson. John, you've got it 5-0,
virtually a shutout.
1 even. But Ricky Sullivan has landed a few blows. Not that they hurt Wilson as much as you have to wonder why he's getting hit by them. Coming to you from the Roxy in Boston, Massachusetts.
Which with the balconies here reminds you a little bit of the Blue Horizon in Philadelphia.
Has definitely a Blue Horizon vibe, and Russell Peltz, one of the promoters of the Blue Horizon, in attendance tonight because he's the promoter of Darroll Wilson.
There's been a few fights that have broken out at the Roxy here, Arnie, the last year. Peter McNeely was involved in a fracas in the nightclub.
Sullivan pulling his way in there, and he had leaned down to us during round number 5 and said something about going the distance, and there's Wilson going to the body, and that's what's really going to slow down Ricky Sullivan at this point. And that's the instructions that Wilson's corner gave him between rounds as we're halfway gone here in round number 6.
Certainly that's the way to go because he's already badly winded at this point in the fight. You might be able to stop him with a body shot at this juncture.
And we're scheduled for 10. Ricky Sullivan has never been 10. He's been 8 4 times in his career, never 10 rounds. Darroll Wilson's been 10 rounds twice, one of them a draw, as we mentioned earlier, against Terry McGroom, who's basically a cruiserweight. And James Stanton in a 10-round win. That was back in December of '95. Has never knocked anybody out past 3 rounds. So statistics at the moment are in Ricky Sullivan's favor.
Wilson's also got to be careful. After he jabs, he drops his left hand low. With an experienced fighter, he's going to get countered with a right hand one day, and he's going to pay for it. Evidently, he feels against Sullivan he can get away with that tactic.
Ricky Sullivan's had only 4 knockouts in his 6 wins. Hasn't stopped anybody since June of '94. He stopped Vinny Dell. 3rd round then. Oh, and another low blow by Darroll Wilson. 3rd, Ricky Sullivan looking at the ref, wondering what's going on. Hoping that they take a point, but I think he's way beyond the point situation here as we come to the end of round number 6.
This way, Major. Impudent rascals. One of them was causing my daughter.
Jack, where do you have Jack. You remember Amanda? We met at the tavern. Amanda.
Is any woman with this? We have railways to plan, breweries to build.
But I have not introduced you to Lucy. Lucy, Amanda's twin sister.
Which way do you think?
Excuse me.
Labatt Blue, true Canadian lager.
Blue Jays Batters Bingo. Double the fun and double the prizes. Each time you play, you'll have double the chance to win $5,000 in MasterCard Traveler's checks from the Bank of Montreal. Or a GE Spacemaker 2 microwave, a Texas Instruments personal organizer, Samsonite Ultralight 2 luggage, or Mikasa Lifestyle stoneware. Just $1 gets you in the game. All proceeds support the Blue Jays Charitable Foundation, so go to bat for the kids. Game cards available at Loblaws, Zayres, Fortino, Skydome, and these fine stores.
Good fight crowd here tonight on hand for Heavyweight Explosion. Looking forward, of course, to the Obed Sullivan-James Gaines title fight coming up.
Put him up. I got you. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
We caught the tail end of Ricky Sullivan's corner there as we begin round number 7, and they said, don't say nothing. John, what are they referring to?
Arnie, I don't have the foggiest. Maybe they're afraid if he opens his mouth, Wilson will stuff another jab down it.
Sullivan now hot dogging, waving to the crowd. Fakes a jab and hooks off it.
Well, you got to wonder, a guy who stopped Shannon Briggs fairly quickly, struggling against a club fighter here tonight, Rick Sullivan. I mean, mentally it's tough to get up for a fight like this. He told me last night that he trained for this fight like he were going to be fighting Mike Tyson. Didn't make any difference to him. He was going to be ready.
With all due respect to Darroll Wilson, he would have been in a lot of trouble with Tyson then tonight. As we mentioned earlier, and I had said Ricky Sullivan a very good under 500 fighter, came in with a 6-11 record, only 4 knockouts. And I also said, if I'm a manager and I'm coming off a big win like Shannon Briggs, I may not let my fighter out of the house. Look for the bigger payday and put him in against something and maybe work a lot in the gym because...
Well, like we said before, they wanted David Tua. Personally, I feel Tua is going to be a lot for Darroll Wilson to handle. I don't think Darroll Wilson has a sting on his punch to keep Tua off.
Well, if the Johnny Ruiz fight is any measuring stick of that, you know, Tua looked fantastic taking Johnny Ruiz out in 1 round. Darroll Wilson looking a little tired now, and as you pointed out, he drops that left after the jab. Ricky Sullivan trying his own jab now to counter.
I don't know why Rick doesn't jab more often. I mean, it's such a fundamental to the sport of boxing. Without a jab, you're nothing as a fighter. Although Mike Tyson has done pretty well without a jab, although in his prime, as he was coming up the first time, Tyson had a very underrated jab.
So we're under a minute to go in round number 7. This is scheduled for 10. Now, one of the other things with Ricky Sullivan, as we mentioned, he's never been past 8. He may just be preserving himself, doesn't want to throw too many punches. Darroll Wilson, on the other hand, I don't have an excuse for why he's slowing down here in round number 7. Wilson starting to dance a little bit now. Doesn't seem to be throwing one jab at a time, John. He's not doubling up on the jab. He's not stepping in with the right afterwards as he did in the earlier rounds.
What if he's trying to get his legs back? Sometimes fighters will do that to try to get the feeling back in their legs.
Nice uppercut by Wilson. First uppercut we've seen him throw in the fight, and it got Ricky Sullivan's attention. He goes down to the body, but perhaps too little too late for round number 7 as we come to the close.
Play Safeway's Touchdown to Win. There's a prize for every touchdown and interception during TSN telecasts. Prizes like MasterCard Traveler's Checks from Bank of Montreal, Mikasa Stoneware and the Lifestyle Pattern, Minolta Compact Zoom Binoculars, or Timex Watches with Indiglo Nightlight. Or win a trip for 2 to Puerto Vallarta courtesy of Canadian Holidays, Canada's largest vacation company. Safeway feature products, Kraft Peanut Butter, Campbell's Chunky Soup. Touchdown to Win at Safeway, today's better way.
When an army of criminals has taken over, there's never a cop around when you need one. But when this cop's around, one is all you need. But now, even the toughest cop could use a little help. Jackie Chan, Super Cop.
Now playing at a theater near you.
Round number 8, and you heard what both corners had to say here, John. It was interesting. One corner's telling Darroll Wilson, this guy's nothing. You got to get on him. Don't worry about getting caught, which makes you think that maybe some of Sullivan's punches did catch him when Wilson was napping. Ricky Sullivan saying he's number 12. He's not so great.
He might not have a bad point. And you heard Elijah White, Wilson's trainer, pumping him up in the corner, sensing that his fighter was feeling fatigue and perhaps even psychologically telling himself, I'm running out of gas, and slowing down in the fight. They want Sullivan out of there. They would love to stop him inside of 10 rounds. This is not going to look good for their fighter.
Well, they're even at a point right now where Darroll Wilson's stock is dropped by Ricky Sullivan even being here in round number 8. As we pointed out earlier, Wilson has never stopped anybody past the 3rd round. He's gone the 10-round distance twice, the 8-round distance 3 times. Ricky Sullivan's never been 10. If he gets past this round, he's in uncharted waters.
Well, Wilson needs to develop more of an arsenal, Arnie. He's really got the jab going for him. And Rick Sullivan just kissed Darroll Wilson, and Wilson laughed it off. That was a nice gesture of sportsmanship after all the foul play we've had. But really, Wilson needs to develop other punches, and that's why he's a limited fighter at this point.
Wilson's also arm weary right now. He's keeping both arms very low. And Ricky Sullivan, don't let that kiss fool you. That kiss was a way, he's trying to sucker his way through the next 3 rounds and soften up Darroll Wilson. He wants to be standing here at the end of 10. He came in here to go the distance. He doesn't have any delusions about being heavyweight champion coming in with a 6-11 record. Darroll Wilson does after having beaten Shannon Briggs and being ranked number 12 in the world.
After Wilson fires one of those jabs, I'd love to see him throw the right hand right down the pipe. He's not really doing that. He's backing Sullivan up, but he's not taking advantage of the opportunities.
And I got to tell you, John, at this point, I'd like to see him even double on a jab. He seems...
Throws one jab at a time.
Nothing left on his punches. Not busy at all. Eating some shots here from Ricky Sullivan. The only problem is at this point, Sullivan, who needs a knockout to win this fight unofficially, doesn't have the punching power to do any damage this late in the fight with Wilson's arms hanging at his sides.
Not only that, I really question what kind of punching power Darroll Wilson has. And this is the heavyweight division. Let's make no mistake about it. He might be able to get away with it against a Ricky Sullivan, but how is he going to do against the division's top fighters?
And Sullivan looked down at us again, shook his head as if to say, what's the big deal? We're coming to the end of round number 8. Sullivan bounces off the ropes and catches Wilson coming in.
That's a good stiff jab, Sullivan.
We take a look here at the crowd at the Roxy on Heavyweight Explosion. Coming up, of course, we got Obed Sullivan and James Gaines for the IBF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. And John, we're through 8. How have you got it?
I mean, it's a virtual shutout for Darroll Wilson at this point. I mean, you might score one of those rounds even, or maybe give one to Sullivan, based on Wilson not doing enough in a couple of the rounds. But I think it's a clear-cut decision at this point.
It's your time, champ.
Put your combinations together like you do in the gym. Bing, bing, bing.
Like a Jamal or somebody. You know, bad, no difference. Bang, bang, bang.
Put them together.
Put yourself together and put your head in there. He can't hurt you.
The whole world looking at you.
Put your chin down and bang that body like you really want it. You show me. I got it. You got it.
Take a look here at action in round number 8. There's that good stiff jab. That was the one time where he finally doubled up, John, and it paid off for him, but he didn't come back with the right. Round number 9, and we're in a place where Ricky Sullivan's never been before. He's been 8 twice in his career. Actually 3 times in his career, all in losing efforts. First time he's been in round number 9. Wilson's been the full 10 twice. Not happy in the corner of Darroll Wilson right now, John. Would you say that's an understatement?
I mean, they told their fighter, the whole world is watching you right now. That's a clear indication that they want Wilson to go out and finish the job. But Sullivan right now is brawling, and he just kissed Wilson again. He's quite the affectionate fighter, isn't he?
Well, they may be going out and buying furniture after this fight, but right now, Ricky Sullivan is doing what he wanted to do when he came into this fight, and that's simply a la Rocky 1. He wants to go to distance tonight with Darroll Wilson.
Good uppercut by Wilson, Arnie, then a right hand.
That's the second uppercut he's thrown in the fight, and he's landed well with both of them, but he seems apprehensive about using it.
And Sullivan talking to him on the inside when the two fighters neared each other, as if to say, you ain't got nothing, man.
We're in round number 9. There's been no knockdowns thus far in the fight. That's Darroll Wilson. He's in the black shorts. Ricky Sullivan, he's in the blue and white. Wilson came into the fight undefeated, 16-0, 2 draws, 11 knockouts. Sullivan, a 6-11 fighter, 4 knockouts. And of course, Wilson, the prohibitive favorite here, coming off the big knockout win over Shannon Briggs. Everybody expected a quick blowout of Ricky Sullivan, and we're here in the 9th round, halfway gone in round number 9. And Ricky Sullivan is still standing, and he's been standing the entire fight.
I guess the matchmakers knew something, huh?
Well, again, Sullivan showed a lot of durability in his last 2 fights, both losing efforts, but going the 8-round distance both times.
A lot of swelling and puffiness, and now some blood trickling down from Sullivan's nose.
Oh,
but there he is, battling back, still trying. Crude as it may be to some fight fans. Left hand by Wilson. He's trying to follow it up. Here's a situation, Arnie, where he should be able possibly to finish the job. But you see Sullivan just trying to hold on and survive this round and get into the 10th.
Good body work, and they were pleading with Darroll Wilson all throughout the fight. Go to the body, and that's where Sullivan is most susceptible.
I think the fight would have been over if he had listened to his corner. In fact, if he has enough steam left, I think he could end it right here, but he's letting Sullivan off the hook.
And we've got less than 20 seconds to go in round number 9, and you know Ricky Sullivan's a man on a mission, and his mission is to go to distance. Wilson's mission to stop Ricky Sullivan. His stock goes down tremendously if Ricky Sullivan goes the distance with him.
Needs to throw an uppercut. Wilson does.
Again, working the body finally, and really took a lot out of Ricky Sullivan with those body shots.
Did he? Oh! Car not riding as smoothly as you'd like? Well, suspension trouble could be in your struts, your shock, your springs, or your alignment. So, head over to Midas for a free inspection. They'll show you in writing not just what's wrong, but what needs fixing now and what can wait. That way, you get some choice in the matter, which is better than getting jerked around. Midas, the way it should be. Oh, big fella. Oh.
Natural ability can only take you so far. Equipment counts for a lot. I'm always checking out new ideas. You have to stay competitive. That's what I like about Pert Plus. Cleans and conditions in one step. No messing with 2 bottles. I get great results. No hassle, no fuss. Eventually, we all cross the finish. The winners just find a better way to get there.
Pert Plus, great hair, no fuss.
Final round. Ricky Sullivan, as we mentioned earlier, in uncharted waters, has never been past 8. Darroll Wilson's been the full 10 twice in his career. Only one of them in a winning effort, the other one a 10-round draw against Terry McGroom.
Wilson wants a stoppage in this round, Arnie. He's going to go for it. I think he's going to let it hang out, what he has left. Let's see if Sullivan can weather the storm.
And that's
Shannon Briggs couldn't.
And that's Sullivan. He's in the blue shorts with the white stripe. Darroll Wilson in the solid black. There's been no knockdowns thus far in the fight.
Boy, you got to wonder what's going through Shannon Briggs' mind if he's at home watching this fight. What do you think, Shannon?
And all the shareholders that invested in Mark Roberts' stock. People, a lot of investors in Shannon Briggs have to be wondering here what was wrong that night.
Might not just be that night, that's the problem. And of course, Teddy Atlas no longer training Shannon Briggs.
Ricky Sullivan holding on. He got a minute gone by here in round number 10. He wants to go to distance. Darroll Wilson desperately wanting to stop him in the tickets to body shots, but it might be 5 rounds too late. He could have done this exact same body work, John, in my opinion, earlier in the fight with exactly the same results, and he would have had Ricky Sullivan out there. Sullivan has a very good chin, not good at taking body attacks.
Well, there are some ugly red welts along Sullivan's left rib cage area. So Wilson has picked up in that department as the rounds have gone on, but probably didn't do enough.
Well, we take a look with a minute to go here, a little more than a minute to go in round number 10. Some of the people that knocked Ricky Sullivan out, and we can make comparison. Joel Scott, Johnny Ruiz stopped him in 2. Peter Smith, who just recently got knocked him out in 4. Michael Grant, Bill Caton's new heavyweight, stopped him in 1. And a guy that I never heard of named Clifton Mitchell.
All those guys are much bigger physically than is Darroll Wilson. Darroll Wilson is a small heavyweight.
Should he be fighting at perhaps cruiser? I can't see him getting down to 190 or that new super cruiserweight division at 209.
The question in boxing, why you see so many guys who are borderline fighting in a heavyweight division, is strictly a matter of economics. They can make a big killing in the heavyweight division if they can get ranked and get that one Tyson fight with a Mike Tyson or a Michael Moore or a Riddick Bowe or a Lennox Lewis.
Well, he did that one thing that he needed to do. I'll tell you this, he may not have trouble, though, getting that big test fight and that big paydays. It looks like Ricky Sullivan's going to go the distance here with Darroll Wilson, a big surprise. And again, we got to applaud our matchmaker. Bill Benton puts this guy in here, and Ricky Sullivan more than went rounds. He went the distance, the full 10 for the first time in his career. Both fighters hugging each other. But a major, I don't want to call it an upset, because Darroll Wilson, in our opinion anyway, unofficially didn't win the fight, probably won all 10 rounds on the judges' scorecards. But by not stopping Ricky Sullivan, a fighter that's been stopped 6 times in his career, came into the fight with a 6-11 record, only 4 knockouts, not much of a punching threat. You've got to wonder where Darroll Wilson's going from here. And you've got to also wonder, where was Shannon Briggs that night of March 15th this year, where Darroll Wilson was able to stop him in 3 rounds? A lot of things for Wilson to work on again. Didn't turn pro until he was 27 years of age. This was only his 19th pro fight. If you put that into perspective, you have your good nights, you have your bad nights. Not a bad performance. A lot of things to work on. But after the big KO of Shannon Briggs, he was supposed to be the second coming. Didn't turn out that way. His promoter manager, Russell Peltz, in the audience tonight, has to be wondering what the next move is with Darroll Wilson. Does he need more tune-ups? Or does he just go in and take the big fight and hope that maybe he gets up for a big fight as he did with Shannon Briggs, and maybe he just couldn't get started? Up to JJ right now, though, with our official decision.
And ladies and gentlemen, yeah.
JJ having a technical problem here, getting the mic to work.
Check.
Ricky Sullivan, we see him there, very happy having gone the 10-round distance, the first time in his career, in 10 rounds with a man who stopped Shannon Briggs in 3.
Check.
And up to JJ Wright with the
ladies
decision.
and gentlemen, it is official. Our first bout of the evening. The winner by unanimous decision, Darroll Wilson in the blue corner.
There you have it. No surprise. Darroll Wilson, winner by unanimous decision.
For Rick Sullivan.
But we're going to get an opportunity to talk with him and see exactly what he thinks might have gone wrong tonight. And again, not to take anything away from a victory, but certainly what went wrong relative to the fact that he was expected to knock out Ricky Sullivan. We're going to go up to our John Saraceno in the ring with Darroll Wilson. Okay, John.
All right, Darroll, you had a huge win against Shannon Briggs. Tonight, in with a less skilled fighter. Are you disappointed that he went the full 10 rounds against you?
No, I feel good because I ain't had no good boxing in a while like that. So I'd rather go to 10 rounds than have a early knockout.
What was happening with all those low blows there? Very early, it got very dirty.
To me, I don't think that was low. I think he was just faking, doing a Riddick Bowe, doing his plans or something, making a play. And then he hit me a couple of times like that too. So, hey, I told you, he hit me down, I'm gonna hit him back.
And later on, he made up by it by kissing you, didn't he?
Yeah, kissed me twice, right? Tried to make me mad, but I still kept my composure.
You know, some people in the boxing have questioned your punching power, and tonight you were really unable to get him out of there. What do you think of your ability to punch?
Oh, like I said, depends on what kind of fight. Like I said, depends on what kind of fight I fight. I got a good fighter, will bring the best out of me. But I can't look at it like that. I got to, even a bad fighter, I got to work harder. You know what I'm saying? Well, in the rounds, I turned it up. In the later rounds, I was turning it up. So he was getting tired. He was grabbing me a lot.
What's the toughest thing about fighting a brawling club fighter like Rick Sullivan?
Well, they're the type, they'll survive. They're going to survive, do what they can do anything. Try to catch a Hail Mary punch, catch you anything. So you got to look out for all that. So you can't doubt nobody, like I told you. Any fighter with a record like that, give you a hard fight, what I tell you.
Did you want to take, it looked like really the corner was on you at the end of the fight between rounds to get him out of there.
Well, they told me to go to the body. So he said he had a hard head. He got a hard head. And then as the round went on, I started working his body. So I think if I'd have did it earlier when they told me, I think he'd have been gone earlier. But I just got in a head hunting position. So he gave me the head, and I just took it instead of going to his body. So he's moving the head a lot. But like you say, you can't move the body.
What about doubling up on your jab? We noticed you throw a lot of single jabs, but you weren't doubling up, and as a young fighter, you're trying to learn to hook off the jab.
Oh, yeah.
You still have a ways to go.
I still got a ways. I'm still learning. I'm still a little puppy. I ain't got everything right like I wanted yet, but it's coming along. So I thank the Lord for that. So get back in the gym and get more better boxing.
Darroll, there's been talk that you might fight David Tua next. Is that a fight you would welcome? Is that a fight you want made soon?
Oh, I take it. Make a difference. He ain't like Shannon, he ain't fought nobody. So do with them, building them up slowly. They doing the right thing. So when that fight come on, it'll be a great fight. It's gonna be like a Tyson fight. Be like Tyson and Holyfield.
You think you can really hang in there with the big punchers in the heavyweight division? You're a small heavyweight. You're not the biggest guy in the world.
Oh, hey, look at Holyfield. He wasn't a big guy, but he was fast. So that's what we're working on now. Our speed and stuff now. It's coming along. It's gonna take time, but it's coming. So that's all we got to do is get back in the gym and get more work. That's it.
All right, Darroll. Thank you very much.
forbidding terrain. 75 AWOL heartbeats. Second thoughts. One leap of faith. 140-story drop and 2 loose screws. Equals 100% pure adrenaline. For all you do, this bud's for you.
When back pain begins to cramp your style, ordinary pain relievers often aren't enough. Doctors and pharmacists recommend Robaxacet. It combines 2 active ingredients, one to relieve your back pain, the other to relax your tense back muscles. Robaxacet, helping you walk away from back pain.
Back at the Roxy in Boston, Massachusetts, and our main event coming up here, the IBF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. Champion Obed Sullivan looking to defend against James Gaines. Scheduled for 12 rounds. Sullivan now number 10 in the IBF. There's the belt being held up by his manager, Steve Munisteri. Big James Gaines weighed in at the weigh-in 296 pounds. Comes in with a 12-1 record, 10 knockouts. There's Obed Sullivan, 18 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 13 big KOs, and major punching power, John.
Well, Obed Sullivan, this is a fight where his jab has to come out. And in the past, he's been very inconsistent with it, Arnie. One thing to watch for in this fight is that Gaines is susceptible to right uppercuts, and that's Ben's favorite Sunday punch.
And they call him Big House Gaines, and we're going to go up to our ring introductions. JJ Wright, take it away, JJ.
Hello. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Corona Extra Heavyweight Explosion continues here at the Roxy. Are you ready for some more excitement, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight's main event is a 12-rounder for the IBF Intercontinental